Hey guys, what's up? We are back with another video today, and today we are doing our final mock draft of the entire draft season for 2023. Almost 40 videos later, we are finishing off with the hated Green Bay Packers. Of course, the Green Bay Packers had to make some news today. If you don't know, I'm a Bears fan, but I know a lot of Packers fans, so I do like to put out videos about the Packers because, well, I am now the football expert here, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the football expert, like this video down below, and comment your thoughts and opinions. Tell me whether you like the Aaron Rodgers trade, whether you don't like the Aaron Rodgers trade. What are your thoughts on the value and the return that they got back, which is basically going to be a second-round draft pick and a first-round draft pick, though the first-round draft pick could be turned back into a second-round draft pick if Aaron Rodgers plays less than 65% of snaps, which, unless if he gets injured, he will do. So basically a first and a second in return. You swapped a couple of picks, so on and so forth, but let's not get too into the weeds. Also make sure that you check out the website where I'll be posting a top 100 mock, or top 100 big board, and my final first round mock draft coming out this week. So make sure that you check that out, where I compete with all the big names, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Dane Grugel, all of the big guys out there. So hit that subscribe button. Let's get started with this video. At number 13 overall, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Zay Flowers, the wide receiver out of Boston College. And before anybody says anything, here is my thinking. Zay Flowers is a northern guy. He's a BC type of guy. The two other guys that were on the board was Quentin Johnson out of TCU and Jordan Addison out of USC. So both of those guys, Texas and California, they're not used to the cold weather. Jackson Smith-Njigba was already off the board. He was the only wide receiver off the board. The other guys were available. And here's the other thing. Jordan Addison, he obviously played at Pitt, so this isn't all due to weather. But really what I think it comes down to is this. Zay Flowers is a technician when it comes to running routes. And to be honest, he was the better performing of the two when it came to Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers this past season. He performed better. And really, I don't know what to say other than the simple fact that Zay Flowers played better, and it kind of looks like he has some better potential. And even though at 13 it may seem a little bit high to take Zay Flowers, I didn't do any mock drafts in this trade. I didn't do any trades in this mock draft, so that's part of the reason why I didn't trade back. If I were the Packers, I'd probably trade to like 22, 24, something like that, and you can probably get Zay Flowers still. Depends on what the boards are looking like for wide receiver. Personally, I think Zay Flowers is probably going to end up being in that like 25 to 31 range right at the end of the first round. Is where I think he'll actually be drafted in real life. My mock will say that later on. But Zay Flowers, I think he's a really good fit, and you'll see why I didn't draft a tight end. So at number 42 overall, I have the Packers selecting Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame. And this is the main reason why I didn't have him drafting Michael Mayer at number 13. I didn't think that Mayer would be available at 13, or at 42. And there's no way in real life that he's actually available. He's just too good of a player to actually be available at that 42 spot. But what I do think is possible is that if you draft, say, Flowers, then you could get Dalton Kincaid or Luke Musgrave or Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft's maybe more of a third rounder, but if you wanted to, you could. You could get Sam Laporta, something like that. I think the tight end class is pretty deep, and even though I love Michael Mayer, I'm a Notre Dame fan, love him, and I think that he would be a great fit in Green Bay. He does everything extremely well. I think that there's a lot of good tight ends here. So I don't think drafting at that top spot, even though in my mock draft for the first round, I do have him drafting Michael Mayer because he is that dynamic player that really should not be available at 42. But if you want to know Michael Mayer, he brings great blocking skills. He brings pretty good pass catching ability. Though Luke Musgrave and Dalton Kincaid are probably better at that, Michael Mayer is a much more well-rounded tight end, brings a lot more to the table than Musgrave and Kincaid do, and in blocking, in the running attack and stuff like that, and overall passing awareness, how the technique of running routes specifically, that all goes to Mayer. Then at number 45, with the other second-round draft pick, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Adetomiwa Adebawore, the edge rusher out of Northwestern. Really, it was a close race. Both him and Felix and DK Uzama were available. Man, I'm getting good at these crazy names. I was struggling with some of them at the beginning of the draft class, but now that it's almost here, I'm getting much better at them. But with Adetomiwa, you're really getting a good 3-down type of pass rusher. I think he can be able to pass rush. He can also play that 3 technique on the inside or play on the outside. I think that generally he'll probably play outside, but I do think he has that versatility where he can play defensive tackle and play edge rusher / defensive or edge. I think that he can play either, so I think that is providing good versatility when you get Adetomiwa Adebawore. Then at 78, I have the Packers taking Matthew Berger on, the tackle out of Syracuse. Here's the reason. I don't think David Bakhtiari is there much longer. That's what a lot of my Packers friends have been saying, is that they don't think David Bakhtiari is going to be around much longer. And I think Matthew Bergeron, I think he's probably one of the best tackles in this class that isn't a first-round tackle. So you have Darnell Wright, you have guys like Broderick Jones and Paris Johnson Jr. and Peter Skoronski and stuff like that. Some people think Antoine Harrison. Personally, I have Matthew Bergeron is OT number 5. I think he is the 5th best offensive tackle in this draft class, and getting him in the 3rd round, that's great value, especially when you may have a hole. Address it before it actually becomes an issue. Then at number 116, I have the Packers selecting Eli Ricks, the cornerback out of Alabama. This provides depth to a secondary that just needs depth. It's a possibility that you have injuries throughout the year, and I think that you should add a little depth, and Ricks provides both experience, having a lot of experience at Alabama, and obviously he also transferred from LSU. He had a lot of experience at LSU as well. You get just a good, solid player in what you're getting in Eli Ricks. Then at pick number 148, I think it is. I think that's 148. Sorry if I got that number wrong. But I have them selecting Yaya Davy, the edge rusher out of Louisville. Great guy, just really good, and the hips, it basically just has great bend. Is really good at being able to get around those offensive tackles. He is not really a 3-down type of edge rusher, but on 3rd round where he can pin his ears back and just rush the quarterback, I think that he's a really good player to have, and somebody that I think could be a massive get for a Packers team that really just needs to add edge rushing beyond like the Rashad Garys and the Scotts and stuff like that. Beyond that, I think that brings a little bit of help. At pick number 207, I have the Packers selecting Bryson Ford Wheaton, the wide receiver out of West Virginia. Wheaton is a specialist, and what I mean by that is Wheaton is really good at being fast and technically running routes. He's very technically sound. Whether he's going to get a go ball, a post route, a dig, a curl, whatever, a slant, he's really good at being that. A really good, superb route runner, and he's also really fast. And I think the combination of those two things in this late 6th round, or in the 6th round, I think is pretty good value. When you're looking at a guy like that, is he adds good value with that overall, and I think that that's a big help there. Then at pick number 232, I have them selecting Aiden O'Connell with the quarterback out of Purdue. O'Connell's really just kind of a flyer here. I was kind of hoping to get DTR, but I waited a little bit longer. Got Davey instead of DTR. Maybe I should have gotten DTR. If you don't know who I'm referring to, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the cornerback out of UCLA. But Aiden O'Connell is not a bad quarterback himself, and I think it would be smart for the Packers to draft a quarterback in the later rounds, whether it is Tanner McKee, if Tanner McKee falls to the 3rd round, or if that's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, or if it's one of the other minor quarterbacks like Aiden O'Connell or Clayton Tune or stuff like that, or even Jake Haener out of Fresno State. You're looking at guys that really can play well, but at the same time be able to have that developmental somewhat potential and also just to play the backup role that you kind of need with Jordan Love now being firmly your starting quarterback. At pick number 235, I have the Packers selecting Jared Clark, the defensive lineman out of Coastal Carolina. Clark he's a good lineman. He's just good. Like, he is a production machine out of Coastal Carolina. And because of that production, that's why I really like him. I think that he adds versatility to that defensive line. And again, we're adding depth. That's something that I think, if you have not noticed already with this mock draft, we're adding depth. Talking about depth, at pick number 242, I have the Packers selecting D. Winters, the linebacker out of TCU. Solid player, gonna only play inside linebacker. Has a decent amount of ability to get after the run and stuff like that. So he had some good versatility and able to do that. So finally, with my last pick, I have Dante Stills, the defensive tackle out of West Virginia. Really solid player, has a good amount of ability, played defensive tackle, but could play defensive tackle or edge rusher if he were slimmed down about 10-15 pounds, so it gives you some versatility as well, which is important to have out of West Virginia. So that's going to wrap it up. One more thing before I go here. Make sure that you guys subscribe, because there is going to be a lot of new content coming out. If you're a college football fan whatsoever, and if you're watching a mock draft video, you may be. Make sure that you subscribe, because I will be having a preview for all Power 5 football teams, including the new ones like Cincinnati, UCF, BYU, and Houston. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button up here or hit the 2 videos down below. That's all for today's video, and as always, have a great day. Bye, guys.